A Course in Miracles, Lesson 345. I offer only miracles today, for I would have them be returned to me. Father, a miracle reflects your gifts to me, your Son. And everyone I give returns to me, reminding me the law of love is universal. Even here, it takes a form which can be recognized and seen to work. The miracles I give are given back in just the form I need to help me with the problems I perceive. Father, in heaven it is different, for there are no needs. But here on earth, the miracle is closer to your gifts than any other gift that I can give. Then let me give this gift alone today, which we, born of true forgiveness, lights the way that I must travel to remember you. Peace to all seeking hearts today. The light has come to offer miracles to bless the tired world. It will find rest today, for we will offer what we have received. There was once a small town built around a lake that no one had actually seen. Everyone talked about the lake as if it were real, but it was always covered in a thick mist. They fished in it, they argued about it, they wrote songs about it, but nobody saw the water clearly. They saw outlines, shadows, floating shapes, and they called that reality. The mist was what they trusted. In that town lived a boy named Luca who had one strange habit. Every morning just before sunrise, he walked down to the lake shore with a silver bowl. He would kneel at the edge of the mist and wait until the air grew just a little thinner. Then in one clean motion he would sweep the bowl forward, as if gathering something invisible, and pull it back toward his chest. No one knew what he was doing, so they assumed he was odd, maybe a little touched in the head. What nobody noticed was this. Whenever Luca walked back through town, people around him felt briefly calmer. They stopped mid-argument, unsure why they were fighting. They softened mid-complaint, unsure why they were so offended. For a moment they forgot who was supposed to be against them. They blamed it on the weather, on coincidence, on a good night's sleep, and then they went back to normal. One morning, an old woman who had watched Luca for years finally walked down to the lake and sat beside him. She waited while he held the silver bowl out over the mist. "What are you collecting?" she asked. "Light," he said simply. She frowned, looking at the unmoving fog. "I don't see any light." "That's because the mist is what you're looking at," he answered. "The light is what you're looking with." He lifted the bowl so she could peer inside. The bowl looked empty to her eyes, but something quiet and deep in her chest stirred, like a memory trying to surface. "Every time I bring this back," Luca said, "I remember the lake is still here, even if I can't see it. And when I walk past others, something in them remembers too. They don't know why they feel different, but they do. That's enough." The woman sat in silence, feeling a strange peace that had nothing to do with circumstances, nothing to do with who owed what, who apologized, who was right or who was wrong. It felt like being briefly lifted out of the town's endless scorekeeping. The next day she returned with her own small bowl. Then another person noticed. And another. Soon there were 15 or 20 people at dawn, standing at the shore, each holding some kind of container. A chipped mug, a broken helmet, a child's plastic bucket. None of them could see the light with their eyes, but every one of them felt it as soon as they turned their containers back toward their own hearts. And the town began to shift in small, almost invisible ways. The butcher forgot to overcharge the traveler and didn't miss the money. The neighbor who normally slammed her door at night paused and left it slightly open. The man who always walked with his fists clenched arrived at work one morning and realized his hands were relaxed for the first time in years. They all assumed nothing had really changed. Yet every time someone with a bowl of light walked by, another mind softened just enough to question its own story of separation. I thought you were my enemy. I thought I needed to protect myself from you. I thought I had to keep my love locked up until you proved you were safe. Each of those thoughts loosened, just a fraction, under an influence no one could trace. That is the miracle. The miracle did not change the lake. The lake had never stopped being water, still and clear beneath the mist. The miracle changed perception. It let minds remember that the mist was only belief, only habit, only fear rehearsed so often it felt like weather. Whenever one person collected light and silently offered it to another, something happened that could not be seen, but it could be recognized by its effect on peace of mind. That offering always returned to the giver, because giver and receiver were never really two. Luca began to understand. If I keep this for myself, it fades, he noticed. When I extend it, it grows. So the only way to keep it is to give it. That was the law of that lake, and of that town, and secretly of the entire world, whether anyone named it or not. One evening, as the town argued about whose needs were greatest, whose pain was deepest, and whose grievances were most justified, the old woman stood up in the middle of the square. She held her worn little bowl to her heart and spoke quietly. We keep acting like there is not enough light. We keep acting like we must take from one another to feel safe. But every time I give this away, I have more, not less. What if lack belongs only to the mist and not to the lake? The square fell silent. Not because her words were clever, but because the light in her had already touched them many times before. Something in them recognized its own reflection. That recognition is the miracle. Not a beam from outside crashing in. Not a change in the script of the town. A correction in perception that says, we share the same lake. We share the same light. We were never separate streams competing for rain. Now translate this straight into lesson 345. I offer only miracles today, for I would have them be returned to me. Jesus is saying, stop trying to carry mist in your bowl. Stop trying to trade fog back and forth, calling it fairness, calling it justice, calling it protection. He is reminding that only right seeing is worth giving, because only right seeing actually exists in truth. The miracle is Luca's quiet act of gathering and extending light, right where fear insists there is only fog and scarcity. The world calls that naive. Heaven calls that sanity. What I give returns to me is not sentimental spirituality. It is a description of how mind actually works when it remembers its unity. If separation is believed, then attack seems to make sense, and the gift is grievance, defense, withdrawal, punishment. Those, inevitably, are returned to the mind that offered them. Not as cosmic revenge, but as simple reflection. If unity is remembered, then the only meaningful gift is a correction in perception, a willingness to see a brother as innocent in spite of any foggy story the ego is offering. That inevitably is returned as peace to the mind that offered it. Again, not as reward, but as recognition. Jesus is reinforcing that in this dream of needs, the closest echo of heaven's giving is the miracle. Not money, not flattery, not sacrifice. The miracle is the moment the bowl is turned toward another and says, let me remember our shared light instead of our separate stories. That remembrance is always mutual because minds are not actually divided. Peace to all seeking hearts today. The light has come to offer miracles to bless the tired world. In the town by the misty lake, the tiredness was not from work, but from defending against illusions all day long. The same is true here. The tired world is a tired thought system. The miracle is the decision to stop feeding that exhaustion and to let a different teacher guide perception. So if Jesus gathered the children and the grown-ups and said, Boys and girls, here is today's practice. It would sound something like this. Today, every time a grievance comes to mind, imagine you are standing at the edge of the lake with a bowl. You can scoop up fog, or you can scoop up light. If you offer fog, you will breathe it in yourself. If you offer light, you will see more clearly yourself. Give only miracles today, not because I demand it, but because you are tired of mist. Offer only right perception, because you want to remember the lake. Let every meeting be a chance to remember that there is no other shore. That is how you will remember me, because I am not in the mist. I am the light in which you see your brother truly. That is lesson 345 made into a story. A lake, a boy with a silver bowl, and a town that slowly remembers there was never a shortage of water, only a habit of staring at fog. And every miracle offered is one more quiet, undeniable proof that nothing real was ever lost.